With its fresh and mild flavor, the coconut reigns supreme among tropical fruit. But more than standing as a majestic backdrop for your beach photos or a delectable reminder of the hot summer sun, the coconut palm represents life for people around the world. In the Philippines alone, millions of farmers rely on the coconut for their livelihood. Their crops yield essential products like coconut oil and coir, which are used at home and abroad by various industries. The Philippine economy overall has been greatly supported by the national coconut industry for at least a century. The many uses of the palm impressed the Italian scribe Antonio Pigafetta so much that he noted them in his chronicle of his voyage with Ferdinand Magellan. Spanish chroniclers recorded the use of the coconut as food, drink, and medicine by the Filipino population whom they encountered. The coconut was exported to Mexico by the Spanish through the galleon trade. With this rich history, what more can we discover about coconuts? Find out by joining us as we crack the shell of myth surrounding the coconut. The coconut, or the Cocos nucifera, is native to the tropics, including the Philippines. It is believed to have evolved 100 million years ago and was carried by the moving land masses to what is now Southeast Asia and the southern part of the Indian subcontinent. Aside from genetics, linguistics points to how coconuts were dispersed along with human migrants from the Indo-Malayan region. Tagalog and the Chamorro language share the same word for coconut, nyog. Meanwhile, other Austronesian languages have similar words for coconut, new or nyor in Malay, and new in Polynesian and Melanesian. Contrary to its international name, the coconut is actually a fruit, specifically a drupe, rather than a nut. The nyog got its international name after the Portuguese word coco, which refers to a mythological creature and also means head or skull. To the European crew, the shell of the nyog resembled the head, and so they named the unfamiliar fruit coconut. Another Western name given to it was Nux indica, or Indian nut. Over time, the coconut reached different regions through human movement and trade, but this was just one way it reached new lands. The coconut also had help from the sea. The structure of the coconut gives its buoyancy and protection from the elements. The inside is hollow, which helps it float, while the outside is tough and watertight. The coconut is thus able to move across oceans towards other coasts, where it can eventually take root. This explains how coconuts related to the Pacific type currently thrive on the west coast of North and Middle America. Now, let's get deeper into the coconut's botanical properties. According to Mr. Giro Adorador,
many people refer to coconut as trees. They call it coconut tree. But actually, it should be coconut palms. Why? Because palm is a group of plants under the family Ericaceae, whereas a tree is actually a plant habit which is defined by a singular trunk and a crown of leaves which exhibits secondary growth. Palms actually do not possess vascular cambium to exhibit secondary growth. Instead, their primary, shoot, and root meristems are continually active alongside with intercalary meristems. They continue to grow in girth or in diameter. But in trees, there's actually a growth in the secondary cambium which give rise to what we call as the wood and the bark. Though the coconut being tree-like in structure, it's more appropriate to call it as coconut palm because they do not exhibit secondary growth. When it comes to their fruit, they call it coconut, but it's actually just the name. Botanically, it is different from a nut. Despite both drupes and a nut are one-seeded and indehiscent, they do not break open at maturity. The drupe has actually fibrous and or fleshy parts, whereas those of the nut are entirely hard and stony. When you take a cross-section of a coconut fruit, it has fibrous parts that makes it a drupe and not a nut.
Now that we know that the Cocos nucifera is scientifically a fruit and that it grows on a palm, we can distinguish it from the other so-called nuts. This is important because this fruit has been labeled as a tree nut under the Food Allergen Labeling and Consumer Protection Act of 2004 in the USA. But scientifically speaking, the coconut is a drupe and should not be classified as a tree nut. Also, studies conducted state that an allergy to coconut is rare. These same studies even recognize the lack of research on the coconut as a major food allergen. Dr. Maria Concepcion C. Lizada discusses about allergen and why coconut should not be classified as a major allergen.
A food allergen is a protein in food which, when eaten, can make our immune system react in a way that leads to allergic symptoms. These symptoms can range from mild, such as hives on the skin or swelling of the lips, or severe, involving obstruction of the breathing pathways and anaphylactic shock, which can be fatal. In 2006, the US FDA issued a guidance list for its 2004 regulation on labeling for food allergens. Unfortunately, in that list, the coconut plant was included among the plants bearing tree nuts, in spite of the fact that the list itself identified the coconut as a palm. The coconut itself is actually a drupe, a type of fruit. Therefore, the coconut is not a tree nut. Then the question arises, if it's not a tree nut, is it a major allergen? In a 2017 review paper, Catherine Anagnostou of the Immunology, Allergy, and Rheumatology section of the Texas Children's Hospital noted that although coconut might elicit allergic reactions in some children, these reactions are very rare. She pointed out that reports of immunoglobulin E or IgE-mediated coconut allergy are rare. She also noted that the coconut, in the first place, is not a nut but a fruit. A 2019 UK article, reviewed by an allergy medicine specialist, states that, quote, reports of allergy to coconut in medical and scientific journals are highly uncommon compared with those reports that focus on tree nuts, unquote. The article concludes that in the UK, allergy to coconut is rare. A paper from Sydney reported only 9 cases of coconut anaphylaxis and 26 cases of less severe IgE-mediated coconut allergy in over 5,000 patients. The paper concludes that although it is a real clinical entity, coconut allergy is rare. The paper further recommends that patients with tree nut allergies should be reassured that coconut is not a nut, but a drupe, and that true coconut allergy has a low incidence in both the general population and those with tree nut and other food allergies. The World Trade Organization, or WTO, regulates international trade in food. There are 2 agreements that all WTO members have signed. One is the Sanitary and Phytosanitary, or the SPS agreement, which aims to protect human, plant, or animal life and health. The second is the Technical Barriers to Trade, or TBT, which covers labeling. In the SPS agreement, which is the basis for the TBT agreement as well, members cannot impose measures that restrict trade unless scientifically deemed necessary to protect human, animal, and plant life and health. Since 2004, the US FDA has had sufficient time to conduct a risk assessment to determine whether indeed coconut poses an unacceptable risk with respect to allergenicity. Thus far, they have provided no evidence to show that coconut is a major allergen. This is in agreement with the 2017 paper from the US, the 2019 article from the UK, and the scientific paper from Australia. Unless a robust risk assessment shows that coconut poses an unacceptable risk as an allergen, it should not be included in the list of major allergens. So for all intents and purposes, there is no evidence-based reason for labeling the coconut fruit among the major allergens in food. Let me emphasize that the 2006 US FDA list of tree nuts is supposed to be based on scientific categories or taxonomic classification. Despite the fact that the guidance list classified coconut as a palm and not a tree, the USDA still wrongly identifies the coconut as a tree nut.
If we are to stick to scientific evidence and the scientific method, the Cocos nucifera should not be listed among tree nuts and should be excluded as a major food allergen. With this information, it is important for us to call the nyog or Cocos nucifera plant the coconut palm instead of coconut tree, and its seed as fruit instead of nut. It is because of the versatility of this unique palm and fruit that in the 21st century, the coconut is just as cherished by Filipinos and other people around the world. The abundance of coconuts in our country means that we have a precious, highly renewable resource right here at home. Meanwhile, the scientific discoveries we make contribute towards life-improving technology. Dr. Fabian M. Dairit shares his insights about coconut and its health benefit.
The coconut has been safely consumed by millions of people in the tropics for many millennia. There are three ways in which the coconut is consumed. The first is the use of coconut meat in the diet. The coconut meat is used in many culinary dishes which are popular in tropical countries. In tropical islands, the coconut is a staple in the diet. It can be consumed in fresh, dried, and cooked forms. Desiccated coconuts have been consumed in the US and Europe since the 1880s. Coconut meat is a basic ingredient of some of the most popular cuisines, desserts, and pastries in the world. Coconut meat contains about 3% protein. If there are serious allergens in the meat, it would have been avoided by people. But such allergenicities have been rare. Another healthy product that is obtained from coconut meat is virgin coconut oil. Proteins are non-detectable in VCO, that is, it is below 0.1%. We can say that VCO is protein-free. VCO has many health benefits. 2 clinical studies have shown that VCO is effective against mild to moderate cases of COVID-19. VCO gives more rapid relief from symptoms of COVID-19 compared to the control group. VCO also gives more rapid decrease in the level of C-reactive protein in the blood versus the control group. C-reactive protein is a key indicator of infection or inflammation. Another product that is consumed widely from the coconut is coconut water. Coconut water is consumed by people of all ages. It is recognized as a healthy, natural, nutritious, and delicious drink. Coconut water contains about 0.7% protein. There's not been any report of allergenicities from coconut water. The coconut fruit is safe and healthy. Let us continue to enjoy the benefits of the coconut.
Now that we've cracked the shell of myth and mystery of the Cocos nucifera, we can extend more support for this historic crop of our very own and towards its main stewards, our farmers. After all, who knows where the coconut will bring us in 500 years?